Hi, I'm author Camille DeMaio, and I am continuing my series right now with talking with people in the book world, especially behind the scenes, so we can talk about how books get to readers. And we've talked to editors and PR people and authors and all the different machinations that go into the book world. But I'm really excited right now to be visiting with my long-term and beloved friend Suzy Leopold of Suzy Approved Book Tours. And Suzy, I got to watch her just start this up, and now she is just mega in the book world. Everybody loves to work with her, and I'm just glad to call her a friend. But I've been a client too, and there's authors tend to put some money, if they have it, behind publicity, and you have to stretch your dollars. But number one on my list all the time, without doubt, is I'm going to send my books to Suzy because she does such a
Aw,
good job. And if I only did one thing, it would be with Suzy. So that's that. So with that, that's my little intro to her. But Suzy, why don't you tell us about what it is that you do?
thank you, Camille. I remember back in the day when I was a baby blogger, 10 years ago, I was stalking you on Facebook, like wanting to friend you, and it was very fun. So I started off as a blogger and I made my way into blog tour, probably 4 years into doing reviews. I was meeting authors in New York City, going into their events, and people were asking me, "Oh, you should do book tours. You should do book tours." And I worked on a business plan. I gathered some ideas about what, as myself as a blogger, what I would expect from the bloggers and what would make them feel good, and the different kind of formats that were favorable to the tours. And it took about maybe 3 years to get it to where it was now. And COVID, definitely during the COVID period where there were no events going on in person, definitely brought the Suzy Approved book tours into light. I have to say, a bad thing for the world, but a good thing for Suzy Approved book tours. I've done about 850 tours to date.
Wow.
Um, but just being a reader of a book and just I popped that review, my book reviews on Facebook. It all of a sudden, I didn't know that there was this community. I thought it was just for a community for where I live. They can see my reviews, they can see what I'm reading. And I didn't realize there was this whole world that opened up. So it kind of organically just, I had no intention. It just was kind of the next step. And as I started to meet authors and go to Book Expo, or Harper's before COVID used to have in author events, and listen to authors speak, and go to book expo and listen to panels. So we met in book festival, the Festival of the Book in Virginia. I just started to become more and more aware of the book industry.
Yes. So I think we both got our start in the book world by being readers first. I know
Yep.
that, I was a voracious reader long before being an author. So it's really kind of fun to see how the sausage is made, as they say. Fun, and there's challenging moments too, for sure. But for readers right now who might be familiar with like what an in-person book tour is, those have gone on for decades and decades. Can you describe what, to a reader who might not know what this digital one is, what is the book tour from Suzy's point of view?
So basically, the majority of the book reviews, they call it a book tour, but it's really a blogger tour. So you're gathering bloggers who have social media presence on Instagram or are building social media presence, and they are reviewing the book on Instagram and posting a beautiful photo and posting their review. They're tagging the author, they're tagging me. Some people give it star reviews, some, maybe put a quote of the day, and then they leave reviews outside of social media. So what will happen on that tour is I will reach out to the bloggers that I vetted that are interested. They've maybe sent me a message or emailed me, and I set up a tour schedule, dates that they have to follow. Sometimes they change, children get sick, people get sick, life happens. So that's where the first start of the tour, it's not even in person, it's just on social media. That's where the tour resides. And it coincides typically with a book's release. It can be a cover reveal, it could be celebrating a book coming out, it could be a book birthday, a book is celebrating a year. It could be an audio book. A book is coming out in audio. It depends. It could be a whole women's month. It could be celebrating all kinds of different things going on in the world.
And what's nice from the author side of it, you've put oftentimes years of work into writing your book, and it starts to get very exciting when you see people talking about it. What I have always loved about your work, being on the author recipient end of this, is how organized it is what you do. I've seen your lists, and I know that you also follow up with your bloggers to make sure that they're doing it. And what's great is you have a different person every day. So it's not like this blast, like everything's happening all at once. It's really got longevity of weeks and weeks sometimes, which is really great to keep that going. And I know that you also pursue those reviews because especially reviews on Amazon, the more reviews you have, the more helps the algorithms and all the things. So hiring somebody to do what you do is just such a help to an author. So for any authors who might be watching right now who are considering this sort of thing, this can be really helpful. And I've found it to be, and like I said, Suzy's always number one on my list when I'm
Oh,
considering what is publicity going to be this time around. So you answered one of my questions, which was how many books have you done? And I didn't know as many as
yeah.
850. That's
Because I
amazing.
just had an invoice. I saw the invoice number. I was like, whoa. But, especially I take the ickiness out of, let's say you have a book coming out and your debut. I do all presses. It can be small press. It could be, public. It could be self-published as long as you're edited. But if you have to write, like, let's say you DM a blogger and you're like, oh, do you want to read my book? Me doing it takes the ickiness out of the equation. So I'm not that intermediary. And what if they don't enjoy the book? I can be the buffer between what has to happen if they don't. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody because you still have that beautiful photo up of the book,
Mhm.
and it's still the Amazon reviews do take time because it's not a verified review on Amazon. So
Mhm.
Amazon does take time to post it. If you had bought the book, it would probably go up automatically because it will see the order.
Over
Or
time,
it'll
though,
see the order. Yeah.
it's great to have those. So
Yeah.
and I like how you said that it takes the ickiness out of the author of it for an author because a lot of people who are writers, we're often introverts as well. And we can be great in front of people, but it takes a lot of emotional energy, I think, to be in front
Mm-hmm.
of people all of the time. And that's part of why we like writing in our little writing caves. But the reality is you have to promote your book unless you get just some fabulous promo package from your publisher, which is more and more rare these days. There is a certain emphasis and need on the author to do it on their own. And so that's where Suzy is such a help because you don't really have to do it on your own then. And she takes that heavy load so that you can go on and write more books, which is what we all want. So out of that 850, are there some stories out of there or some successes or memories that really stand out to you?
You know, there's some that have hit the New York Times bestseller list. I mean, I've done some children's books that have hit. I had last week someone hit the USA Today is back, the USA Today bestseller list. Some of those have hit. Um, I love every week I look at BookBub. So a lot of them get mentioned in BookBub. Like today was, um, Jan Sidar, can't pronounce her name right. Her book, which hit the USA Today bestseller list last week, also was mentioned as a historical fiction book to read for March.
Mhm.
So that's exciting when you see a book that you're promoting also be, also be reflected in some of those lists.
Yeah.
So it's just exciting every week to just, look up something and say, oh my God, I hope it's my book. Or, I'm rooting for everybody. And sometimes I do send other authors that I see that might not be reading what I'm reading because my husband and I, at lunch, he's doing his work, I'm doing my work. And, he's like, what are you excited about? No, it's book stuff, not an email that
Oh, book stuff. Yeah.
nothing exciting here.
It's exciting for those of us in Bookstagram. And so,
Yeah.
well, it must be fun with some of your books or even some of your authors who are new authors to see them succeed and know you had a little part
Yeah.
of that. And I know you like have this like mama hen kind of feeling, and sometimes you text me with your excitement over somebody,
Yeah.
what another author has done or achieved. And it's really such a supportive community,
It
which
is.
I love.
Which
So,
I love. It's like you go to an author event in New York City, you've been there with me, that
yeah,
you see other authors. So it's really a great community,
it
which I
is.
enjoy going to the events. It's fun.
I do love that.
I
I
missed
love
that
the
during
in-person.
COVID a lot. that was, really COVID put a damper on the in-house, you know,
Yeah.
conversations that we would have.
Some of that has
So,
come back, but I think not as strongly
yeah,
as it could yet. So
I've seen not as much New York City. I've seen more in other areas, in your area, North Carolina, a lot of the DC, a lot of Midwest.
well, that's
Um,
good. It connects more authors with
mhm,
people in person. I certainly will take any excuse to train up to DC to New York. I mean,
yeah,
and I do love all those in-person book parties, but it is nice to see that a lot of stuff is happening regionally. I think more so than
yeah,
before, and that's really great for readers, especially to be able to meet their authors and so forth. One thing that I think was a plus out of COVID too was Zooming with book clubs. I don't think a lot of
mhm.
it's happening beforehand, but I know I've been able to meet a lot of people via Zoom with book clubs that I could never have traveled to as much.
Yeah. I think people felt before COVID that, oh, I don't live near that event, so I missed it. And I think it kind of brought the event. People felt, it was a more closer community.
Yeah,
If I was at an event in New York City and somebody lives wherever, it wasn't even streamed. So now
yeah,
I think there's more thought given to getting everyone involved, whether they're not in New York or in Connecticut, but they can actually stream it,
yeah.
which is nice.
I remember people always ask, what was your motivation for writing? And I just remember being a 12-year-old in my school library, bullied on the playground. So I would spend recesses in the library and I read through, all the Nancy Drews and Trixie Beldens and all the stuff. But, when I was 12, there was no internet. And so there
Right.
was, authors were these mysterious people to me, kind of these heroes in my mind who sort of, elevated me out of the circumstance. So I remember when I started dipping into the book world and I met, some authors in real life for the first time, I was just completely fangirling. But as a reader now, it's just amazing to me to whether it's on Zoom and virtually or in person, to not only call so many of them my friends now, but just to have the access. I think that the way that the internet and social media has connected
Mhm.
people. But you're one of those connectors. You're really something like
Yeah.
literally your job is you're connecting readers with authors and books.
And
Uh,
then pre-COVID, I had parties where I connect authors with authors.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
that
I
was a lot
still
of
have
fun.
some dear friendships from people I've met through you. In fact, some of my beta readers came
Yeah,
through having known you, and that I ought to have just a Zoom with some beta readers sometimes because I realize that readers don't know what that is. And just to say in a nutshell, it's the people who are the honest readers who are going to read your book before you send it to your agent or your editor to give you some very legitimate feedback so that you can turn in your best work. So,
right. Not like,
um,
oh, it's great, Camille. I loved everything. No, you have to really
no, like
deep
tear me
dive
apart a little
into.
bit. I
Yeah,
need, I need to be torn
yeah,
apart
yeah,
because
yeah,
my agent, my editor are going to tear it apart. I'd rather have it done beforehand so that I
yeah.
can put my best foot forward. So I've met my beta readers through your circles, which are so amazing. So do you find a genre that you enjoy reading most and a genre you enjoy promoting most, or are you all in for
It's mixed. I'm all in for all of them. I know when I vet a blogger, I ask for their genre. So for each blogger, I know when I have a tour to promote, I don't just send out a Google Doc. I send an email to the blogger because I know what each blogger reads.
Mhm.
So I tend to just take them all in. And the bloggers are, I know them, I vet them, I've seen their pages. I know who's going to take a look, and I know, who's sci-fi and who has children. I don't ask them who has children, but I tend to know from all the pictures I've seen if I have a YA book, if I have a picture book. Um, I know who they are at this point from doing it for so long.
How many
Um,
bloggers do you have in your bank of bloggers?
Probably like 250, and it just keeps growing. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's fun. Someone said to me, "When are you going to do this?" I'm like, "When are you going to stop doing this?" I'm like, "I'll stop doing this when it isn't fun." But and I'm having fun with it, so you know,
Yeah.
so that's like I keep doing it. When it becomes, doesn't make me happy, then it's time to wrap it up. So
Yeah.
far so good.
That's a good way to live life.
Yeah, Yeah,
Oh,
still like,
yeah,
every tour I get, I'm still so excited, and it's still, it's just like, I can't wait to, let's see who joins, and can't wait to send it to the author and see the excitement on that email back that they're excited about, the tour I put together. It's
yeah.
still something that drives me, I guess.
I can tell. Well, that really, really shows. So
Yeah,
may
yeah,
we all do the things that we are enthusiastic about, and
yeah.
especially when
I
they help
used to,
people.
I worked as a CPA before this, when I came out of college, and my job was, um, they sent my department overseas, and I could have stayed, I could have looked for another job, and I was like, this is not. And my kids were very young, so it was time to just give them a little more attention, but I was not going to do that again. But the accounting skills that I have definitely helped me in terms of, the budgets, the managing the billing, managing, just got my taxes sent off to, understanding the mechanics of the other side of it, which is budgets and
Yes.
what have you, which is a
Like I
whole
said, I
nother
can
animal.
attest to, just from my point of view, I'm always so impressed with how very organized it is. So
Yeah,
your
that
organization skills
that
are
comes
great,
like
and your
that comes like
follow-up.
yeah, that's just, every week I send reminders. That's like, I think the CPA in me
Mhm.
can just really just, that's not even a big deal. It's, if I don't, I want every author on my tour to feel like they're the only one, but I do have a lot of tours going on, which I don't divulge how many, but I
Right.
don't want them to ever feel like they're one of how many. I want them to feel like they're only one going on. So I try to keep that spirit when I have a tour with them.
Well, I think it shows because authors talk shop. There's not the literal water cooler anymore, but we all know how to be in touch with each other. And I will say, like anything else in the world, there's gossip and who's saying who about what. I have literally never ever, Suzy, heard somebody say something bad about you or what it is that you do.
Well,
And
ask my kids about my cooking. No, they can attest. It's
okay,
bad.
not
It's
asked your kids.
bad.
No,
Bad.
in the book world, I think that your
Well,
enthusiasm
thank
passes
you.
over and we feel it.
Yeah.
And I really see you as a lot of glue. You're glue out there. But you can point to almost anything and you've heard your good things and your bad things. But I have never heard
Yeah.
anything bad about Suzy
Can't cook. Can't cook.
approved.
Can't cook. Yeah.
Well,
When my
speaking
kids
of your
came home
family,
from,
though, what does your family think of this whole endeavor? And they kind of saw it, I think, go from hobby and a business idea to like full-fledged now. So what's been your
yeah,
family?
they're protective of it. It's in the beginning, it was like, you're going to the city again, like when they, I would dump Chipotle on their laps, and I would sit every week with my husband. This was when it was first starting, and I'd go over, I'd sometimes be out 3 times a week, and every week we'd say what night I was going, where I was doing. And I don't think they were too thrilled about, they were happy eating Chipotle because I wasn't cooking, but they still wanted me around. And I think now they can't believe it. They're just really proud. I think my younger one was like, oh, you should do more. You should do this. I said, Sam, I get the laundry done. The cooking is, if I did more, I think mom would be not in good shape. So, you know, they're happy about it, I think.
Yeah.
They're off doing their own thing, and if they're in college, one's working. But in the beginning, it was because it wasn't anything. It was just me, meeting people, going out, learning. I didn't know, there's no handbook how to learn about publishing. It was just maybe sitting at a lunch and listening, or listening at an event, or just trying to understand it.
Yeah.
So it took a
It's
lot. It
important
took a
for them
real
to
lot.
see. I'm sure they got to see you achieving a dream,
Hmm.
planning something from its infancy, doing something that obviously gives you joy.
Hmm.
There's such a lesson in that.
Hmm.
I've given talks to moms before from the author point of view to say that yes, this dream can sometimes take away some time from your family, and there's obviously a balance to strike in there. But at the
Hmm.
same time, you're also providing them with a really valuable example, I think,
Hmm.
to watch mom go do those things. And I think it can allow them to go,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
is it I want to explore? How do I be creative in achieving my dreams? So it's sometimes the path we create for
Right.
them. And there's those hard moments, especially in starting up, but then it's great when
Yeah.
they see that.
Yeah. It wasn't, it required me to be physically somewhere to learn. I mean, it was definitely, but they're happy, they're happy with it. I think they feel like they're protective of it now. I think
Mhm.
even so more because they all had a play in it, they, from where it is now, maybe it's a part of them too. Like, hey, that's, you
Yeah.
know, mom, that's, they have an opinion about something about it too. Whenever they have it's funny in the beginning when I'd say, I have a question, guys, I need your opinion. You're all owners of this. But I think now, it's really a part of the house. It's just, you know, if I was to do something with it, they would want to voice their opinion.
Now, is your house overrun with books? Have they had to,
No,
walk through piles and everything?
the attic is, and I'm slowly trying to donate and, do the right thing as a citizen. ARC's not so much, but I just donated to a library that lost some books from asbestos. I've given some copies away, but I've slowed down on even asking for books. I'll look at some of the shelves and be like, oh my God, that was from like Book Expo in 2000 and what? Like pre-COVID, like doing, you know, some of them you just don't want to give away, but
Yeah. You
it's
start
just,
to worry about the foundation strength of your house when
yeah,
you're a
yeah. I'm
real
like, is it
bookworm.
going to
Like,
fall through this? Yeah,
yes, you can
yeah.
see
It's
like
just,
that behind me is just like a little sampling of
yeah. My husband will walk in and he goes, you haven't even made a dent up there. I'm like, you know what? I will one day.
sometimes.
Thanksgiving, like people come for Thanksgiving and they're not coming for the cooking. They're coming to get those books. Everybody
Oh,
goes
go shopping
upstairs.
in Susie's attic.
Yep. Everyone gets a bag. Yeah. And still no dent. Yeah.
Nice. So I'm hoping to visit your area later this year.
Yeah.
So I'll
Yes.
bring an extra suitcase and shop in
Yep.
Susie's attic.
Or we can ship it. Like, my mother-in-law was here in August and I shipped her box. It was like,
Oh
yeah, just
yeah.
ship. Yeah. Media mail. Hey.
Media mail, it's so fantastic. Author's best
Yeah.
friend. Uh, well, what would be your advice to authors, Susie, as they're considering, publicity? Can you give like a, just a little pitch as to why this is important, what you do?
It's important to vet anyone who is proposing their services to you. I think if somebody, a random blogger is saying, "Hey, for a few dollars, you can come on my page," don't pay for a review. Don't pay to be on somebody's page. But for services like promotion, vet the blogger, get some understanding, review their stuff. It's your book. A blog. I always say when I do a tour, when I do it, I want them to see what I'm doing and agree with everything. But just be careful out there. There's services that are good, there's services that are not good, and you have to figure out which works for you.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know who everybody is. I only know what I do, but you just have to make sure you're comfortable with who you're using and you establish a relationship,
Mhm.
um, and understand the pricing and understand what you're getting.
Yeah. That's good, and that's true of a lot of things. Well, like I said, I'll reiterate again as far as vetting goes. Susie has my endorsement for what she does. And Susie, for any authors who would want to find you if they didn't already know you before this, what's the best way to reach you and contact you about doing this?
So it's Suzy approved book tours at Gmail or Suzy approved at Gmail or DMing me through Instagram or Facebook. I'm always on because again, what I tend to do on my tours is a blogger posts their post on the tour, I repost it. So
Mhm.
I'm pretty much on in the morning, then I go work out, and then but I look through my stuff. But Gmail, Instagram, and I think on Instagram you can see my links to, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter,
Mhm.
so
So authors
you'll
go
find me.
find Susie and talk to her about publicity, but
Right.
readers, I also recommend that readers go follow Susie's account because my to be read list has certainly grown substantially by following Susie and seeing what she's enthusiastic about and what she's promoting. And I know too that she's selective about what she's promoting. So I know that there's that, it's not just, somebody paying you to do this. I know that you really put love as a reader behind it too. So for all of you readers out there, if you're wondering what to read next, certainly following Susie is going to give you some wonderful ideas.
Yeah, I'd say in my review page, I tend to go a little more free form on my blogger page. I tend to not, you know, I tend to repost some of my tour authors, but I tend to go a little free form on things that have like, quirked my, like my, I've just, all of a sudden, wait, I like that. I want to see what that one's about. That I've definitely perked my opinion, definitely made me stop and say, wait, when does that come out? Wait, I want to read that, so
Yeah.
um and it's not about, again, for the bloggers, it's not about how many followers you have. I mean, that'll come in time. I mean, I'm what, 7 years in and almost at 10,000 followers. I mean, that's just, you got to be patient. You got
Mhm.
to wait for your page to grow, and it's like you earn your stripes, but as long as you're a good citizen, anything can happen, I think. But also for the authors, definitely seek out other tour groups and get an understanding of how it works. That's definitely important.
Yeah.
Vet a few of us, and see the different styles out there.
Yeah.
That's
All good.
Knowledge is powerful.
So, well, thank you for visiting with us. And
Yep.
so I hope we can send some authors and readers your way because I'm a big
Yep.
fan of what you do. And um, just again, I love to connect a lot of what's happening behind the scenes with readers who are watching this because a whole lot goes into that book that you are holding or that book that you are looking at Barnes and Noble. There's so many people behind the scenes making that happen. As the author, we get our names on it, but that's what I love about the acknowledgement section is we have all sorts of people we want to thank because and we're not limited by the 30 seconds in an Oscar speech. We could kind of go on for pages. And I think the publisher doesn't care if you thank all the many people. So always thank Suzy and thank you for being with us today. Anything else you
Oh,
want to say or that I
yeah.
missed?
What about your next book? Can you talk about your next book?
Okay, my next book is coming out in February of 2025, and I'm recording this in March 2024, so that gives you a really good example of how long it takes to get this stuff done. But that book is Come Fly With Me, and it's about stewardesses with Pan Am in the early 1960s. I'm very excited. We're just at the beginning stages. In fact, April and May, I'll be editing, and then we move on to covers and everything. So Suzy's going to have my tour for sure. And so follow me and follow Suzy, and you'll get great updates on Comply With Me. So wonderful. Well, thank you, Suzy, and we will be
Thank
in
you
touch
for having
soon.
me.
Okay.